Okay, everyone, I am back. I just finished reading this book here. Not all of it. I just finished where I left off at. And so I figured, well, this would be a good time to do a little get to know me story time. Um, the last time we stopped off was I was talking about my mother. I hope I'm not too close. I'm actually on the camera, and so I can't see. um, we were talking about my mother and how she was forgiving. And when I looked at and I was trying to figure out where do I want to start, because there's so many ins and outs to life, as you know. Um, I guess if you're fortunate to be in a family where your life is somewhat straight through and planned for you, that's good. And that you follow the ropes and you do what they want you to do, that's great. Or if you're from a family where people actually know how to talk and guide you along the way, that's good. I may be going in and out, but I am going to try to keep the whole thing about me telling you about my stories is one, to be uplifting, uh, to anyone, and to realize just where you start from, wherever your beginning is, does not necessarily mean that you have to stay there mentally, physically, and spiritually, most of all. I am so fortunate at this time to know who God is, and it's a true blessing for me to, I just say thank you. I say thank you because there has been times in my life where many, oh, not many times, there's been times where um, it has not been so beautiful, you know. I don't think it, I think the best time of my life, what made me happy was my kids. I lived for my kids. They kept me going. And for my second husband, you guys do not know that I was married before. You may have. I don't think I told you guys that. But I was married once before. So the first marriage lasted 7 years. They talk about that 7 years. It lasted 7 years. And it would have been fine. At that time in my life, I was young. I was, I think I got married at 19. So I was very young. And, but I had been on my own since I was 15. I've been on my own since I was 15. So that's one thing you guys don't know about me. And it's really, that's why I think that's why in my life now, while uh, at this age that I am, I find it completely funny to be going through the situation that I'm going through, especially since I've been on my own since I was 15. Okay. Um, so I have had a life, and it has been interesting. And I think I'm just going to pull stories out, but these stories are always, the bottom line is to realize you must, you are not who you are told you are, or who people want you to believe that you are. In your family, those who want you to be a certain way. Outside of your family, those who want to put you down to be a certain way. There will be people that come in your life that will bring you up if you are able to see it at the time. And when I say bring you up, I don't mean like financially this and that. Sometimes it can be that, but more or less, I think the biggest bringing up in the world is seeing an individual for who they are and giving them, let them know that they're good, that they're okay, the qualities are good. So, yeah, let's get back to forgiveness. So, so my mother was able to forgive my grandmother, and I was not able to forgive my mother. I was not able to forgive her. It took a long time. Like I said, I was on my own from the time um, I left home by the age of 14. And I know this is going to sound funny, but it was a pure accident. It truly was. My mother and my father, you know, at one point they were together. From what I got, back then they did not want to talk. They didn't talk. So you would be, you don't know your stories, you don't know a lot of things because a lot of people of color, black people, because I don't want to use that term, they didn't talk. They didn't tell you stuff. I mean, and you had to ask if you wanted to know, and still you may not get the answer that you want. So I was, my mother and my father, I was between houses. Like one, I would spend the week with my mother and go to school with her, and then I would go to my father's house. And my and every time I went to my father's house, I never wanted to go back to my mother's house. I mean, you are fortunate when you have two parents and one have sense. Um, you hope that both have sense, but at least one of them should have sense, okay? And so I just never wanted to go back, but I always had to, and I always cried. It was just a horrible thing, poor thing. But I'm so thankful now when I look at it. It's like, oh, thank God, So sometimes it is good for you if your parents are split up because then you do have that two household, and you get a sense of, well, maybe if this one over here is not quite right, this other one over here is right. And somehow, because of who you are, I don't know, God, whatever, it will wash out when you get older. So back to my mother, she was forgiven, but I was not forgiven. It took me a long time to forgive. My mother was the type of person who she didn't understand what she was very smart. Like I said, she was a teacher. And I can say this now because I'm older and I know better and I have a little bit more sense. But back then, I was a child and I didn't know. And so my mother was, she was the kind of person that just wanted to, well, she was a disciplinary, I guess you would call her. And an out of control disciplinary, an unfair and unjust disciplinary. So I know it seemed like I'm starting with the bad. There are some goods in there that I would like to tell you, but let's just get this part out of the way. I have two sisters. One was, I'm the baby, and the middle one was handicapped. She became handicapped after getting a vaccine. You have to get vaccines, like all babies. They get their shots, and so this particular shot she got, I think it was the polio shot. Well, it affected her left side of her body. So growing up with her was a nightmare. It was a complete nightmare. Okay. Um, it was a nightmare. Me and my older sister, we were constantly getting in trouble because of her, because she did not, because she was able to get away with murder. Okay, not literally, but my mother could see no wrong in her, and she had this big guilt complex in her about what had happened. That I do know, because she did talk about that. And my sister, what she was just wrong. She was just wrong, but I guess that was just her dharma. So my middle sister would do stuff, and me and my sister, instead of disciplining her, she would discipline us. And it wasn't like, you go sit in a corner or this and that. It wasn't go get the belt or go get the switch. It was no, go get the extension cord. Who, and if you do whip your kids with cords and belts, please stop. Please stop. So it was like, go get the extension cord. And this brings me to the point when my older sister finally left. My older sister was just getting these beatings, and I was getting them too because of my middle sister. I pretty much was the kind of kid that stayed to myself. I'll tell you about me later, but I'll tell you now. If I tell you everything now, I won't have anything to tell you later, and all these stories, this will be over in a matter of a month, because I'm only getting this out to get it out, to assist someone, for my kids, for whoever want to listen to it, who want to overcome. So anyway, my older sister, I don't know, my middle sister said something, and she was lying, and I know she was lying. I can't remember the details of what it was, but I definitely remember. I can see when I talk to you guys about it. I can see the house, and it was one of those nice little houses in Oakland, um, and it had this big front porch, and you could literally sit on it. It had this nice bush in the front of it. We had a nice house. It was nice. It was a two-bedroom house. Yeah, it was a two-bedroom, one bath, and it had a basement. Downstairs was a backyard, and then there was a small house in the back, a one-room house, no toilet or anything like that. So my mother room was in the first room, right where the door was. And so my middle sister had lied. And my mother, she goes for the extension cord. And my middle sister had no, I don't know, she just didn't, the truth wasn't in her. So when she was whipping my oldest sister, I can remember vividly, just but with this extension cord, and she wouldn't stop. She just wouldn't stop. And so my sister was hollering out for help. She was like, help. And I mean, really help. And so this is God. I looked, and I didn't know what, and God said, go get the dog. That was God. Go get the dog. We had a German Shepherd that loved my sister. So I let the dog in, and the dog lunged for my mother, and my sister jumped up and ran out of the house, and she never came back. And my mother was like, why did you let that dog in here? That was me. That was it. I didn't know what to say. All I know is that that dog saved my sister. And that's the end of that story. I know it was short, but it was definitely an experience to remember, where you have to make a choice between saving somebody at a young age, going against authority despite what might happen to you. And somehow God gave me that ability to do that. So you guys, what can I say? I will see you guys on the next story. I hope that will uplift someone, that You are stronger than you think you are. Okay? And if you can help someone else get up and live, do it. Until next time, bye.